Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Whatever time you're watching this, thanks for watching Common Sense Talks. So today's video is going to be about the upcoming California water law that will limit households to 55 gallons per day. I want to talk about household sizes, water usages, and then if the 55 gallon mark is attainable or not, even by green energy standards, which I'm actually a professional at, as far as I'm a building analyst, BPI certified, understand how to look at energy efficiency issues, inspect buildings, and know things like the stack effect, a building's leakage, heat load, how it takes heat on, how it loses heat, all these things that involve efficiencies electrically with devices and things that consume electricity. And I also know a fair amount about water usage as well, low flow aerators, all kinds of stuff, pressure regulators, low flow devices, just all kinds of stuff like that. So we're going to go over the news and let's read it together. So I brought the receipt, so to speak. So we're going to go over all this. Smash that subscribe and like, and let's get into it. Having my morning coffee here. So we all know here, if you've clicked on this, California limits daily personal water usage to 55 gallons, kind of. This is where it's BS. So after they passed the law, a lot of people kind of got up in arms, like, whoa, what do you mean? So, and then they put big, hefty fines with not following or falling in accordance with that. And so people were all kind of stressed out and like, what do you mean? And they came up with a story similar to this, and they're saying basically, oh, don't worry about it. It's not enforceable to you. There's no way to enforce it. If your home don't have a water meter, yada, yada, this and that and the third, right? However, they will be levying giant, massive fines against the water companies if they can't meet this 55 gallon mark. And who do you think they're going to pass that on to? So if each household doesn't use 55 gallons per day, meaning that, let's say there's so many houses, there's X amount of houses in a given water district, and they know, okay, well, based on 55 gallons times however many houses are in your district, you're allowed to use this much water. And that water supply company is supposed to limit its customers or make sure that they only use 55 gallons per day. And if they don't, the fines will be levied to the water distribution company, which will then be passed on to you. So let's read this here. Californians will be limited to 55 gallons per person per day for their indoor water needs. The rule is apparently the first of its kind in the nation, but lost in the excitement is the fact that water agencies have no way to measure how much water their customers use indoors. Homes only have one water meter, and it provides no information about where water is used or for what purpose, meaning lawn, swimming pool. So homes that have swimming pools, right, they have no way to kind of figuratively figure this out. They're saying, which I can understand. However, you're going to see this. The statewide indoor water use standard is not enforceable on individual water users, said Dave Bolin, Director of State Regulatory Relations at the Association of California Water Agencies. There is no provision that requires individual households to meet a specific water use target. The pair of new laws that enacted the 55 gallon target, Assembly Bill 1668 and Senate Bill 606, said it is a goal that water utilities must meet by averaging across all of their customers. Water agencies must create a water budget aggregated across their entire service area that includes indoor water consumption, water applied for landscape irrigation, commercial and industrial use, and water loss due to system leakage. So it must be averaged out across. So some companies and places get massive amounts of water, golf courses with their green lawns, state agencies with their big green grassy areas, schools with their big green grassy areas. So you got landscape, you got swimming pools. So I don't know how they're going to balance 55 gallons across all of it. And like I said, the penalties are to be faced by the water companies, not by us. But so who do you think is going to pay that? So our bills will go up, water meters, different, maybe a double water meter. So there'll be a meter going into the house and then one put on landscape. I don't know how they're going to do this, but let's read this last paragraph here. And water agencies are not required to ensure indoor water use hits the 55 gallon target, even as a system-wide average. Utilities only face a threat of fines by the state if they fail to live within their total water budget. So they're allotted X amount of water, and it's got to go to landscaping, indoor usage. There's no real way to separate the two. So residents have to share that water usage, that allotted water usage, with big old giant companies like Foster Farms, production plants that are using massive amounts of water, that even have collection pools where they've got to, like, you know, you've got slaughterhouses and other things that just constantly a lot of water, meat processing facilities, fruit packing plants that have to wash their fruits and stuff. And there's, you know, landscaping. How about farming? People who aren't using pumps and wells. What about all this different stuff that's involved? I don't think farming's going to count, so we'll probably exclude that one. But this is just a boondoggle waiting to happen. California has no idea what it's doing. So let's take a look at what does the average person use per day. So we'll look at how much water does it take to wash your hands. So according to this, it takes about 1.04 gallons of water to wash your hands. And being that we're in a pandemic, most people are probably washing them 5 to 10 times a day. So we can look at here and let's see here. Where's the one where it said So the Mayo Clinic states that antibacterial soap is actually no better in eliminating bacteria than regular soap, and that antibacterial soap may actually be hazardous in the long run because of bacteria developing resistance to the product. And now this, I think, is hogwash. Additionally, it's not necessary to use hot water when washing your hands because temperatures as low as 40 degrees Fahrenheit can get hands clean. But they don't. I remember a study that showed that it wasn't the soap that got your hands clean and that killed the germs, viruses, and bacteria. It was actually the extremely hot water. That's why you're supposed to wash your hands with as hot a water as you can take. And if you did it that way, you're going to have to wait a few minutes and use a few extra gallons just for the water to get hot. If you don't have a water recirc pump and a loop in your system to get instant hot water, you're going to use a lot extra water waiting for that water to get hot. So think about that. This is just one study. So we're looking at 1 gallon of water to wash your hands at least. And I want to say they were saying that people wash their hands 5 to like 10 times a day. So there's 5 to 10 gallons right there. Now we look at what the average water consumption of the average person is 80 to 100 gallons. Now I can understand with some really focused efforts we may be able to cut that number down, but getting 80 to 100 gallons down to 55 is going to be challenging in the least. Does it mean that we shouldn't work towards more efficient stuff? Does it mean that we shouldn't try to be more considerate of our resources? Of course not. We should, definitely. But there is a line to draw. Like, I mean, of course, if we didn't have all this nice stuff and all this water, you know, think about how we lived in the past and we had to wash our clothes out of a bucket. You know, you'd pee in a bucket, or, you know, back in the days, they'd even dump all the poop and pee into the streets, and that's what the gutters were for, to carry it all down to the river or to somewhere else, right? Disgusting. So, definitely, I know that we could use less, but where is the line between sanitation and you know, and efficiency? So they want to force vaccine mandates on us. They want to force our children to get vaccinated. yet they want us to kind of live like medieval slums, I guess, you know. Only 55 gallons. I don't know if that's attainable. So what's the average shower water usage? So it looks like this one's going to be 17.2 gallons. And that's the average shower at 8 minutes. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I take a 10, 15, even 20-minute shower. Nice and relaxing. You know, what if you take a bath? It's even more. And not saying we all have to, but goodness, in a 10-minute shower, you'll go through 21 gallons. So you're in there for 15, you're going to go through almost 30 gallons. Or you will go through 30 gallons if you're in there for 15 minutes. So even at the 8.2 minute mark of 17 gallons, we're already at about 27 gallons or so, 25 to 27 gallons of water usage with just taking a quick 8-minute shower and washing our hands. How much does a washing machine use per load? Now, of course, we could all take buckets out and scrub our clothes, you know, by hand, and then rinse them by hand. The same thing with dishes, right? But 14 gallons per load. Now, let me say that if you're single, if you're a young person, you want to save and affect the world, you probably can live within 55 gallons, being that you're by yourself. Now, when you start adding children and a family to the mix, your time is divided. You're at work for a minimum of 8 hours out of the day, let's just say. If not, if you're working 10, do you have a commute, a few minutes, hour, 2 hours to drive, 8 to 10 hours minimum. You sleep for 6 to 8 hours. I mean, that's 16 to 18 hours of the day right there. And then you're only otherwise have maybe 4 to 6 hours of your day left, of which to cook, of which to clean, if you have children, of which to corral them, homework, dinner, brushing teeth, right? All that stuff, washing hands, showering up. And you've got a family, it's really hard to try to say, okay, family of 6 or family of 5, take all your laundry into the front or backyard and fill a bucket up and scrub it for an hour and then rinse it for an hour. You know, that's just not going to happen. And while you're doing that, regulate your children to make sure they don't take too long of a shower. Regulate your children to make sure that they're not leaving the water on while they're brushing their teeth. Because if you've only got 4 to 6 hours of free time after sleeping and working, you know, and you've got to hand wash your clothes, and you've got to old school wash your dishes, even if you teach your children how to do these things, you know, there's still so much. That's just so much water usage per person. And we've only so far covered what it takes to wash our hands, what it takes to do a shower, and what it takes to wash a load of laundry. And we're already at, say, about 40 gallons, right? What about brushing your teeth? What about, washing the dishes? What about drinking? What about cooking? What about cleaning? What about all the different uses we have water for? Could it be attainable? There are some I guarantee you there's some households and families that can probably do it, but I know there's also families of 6 and 8 people, you know, that have a lot of people in the family. And I do not think that is an attainable mark. Now, I seen in that last story it said 55 per person, and in a different one it said 55 per household. We'll have to dig into that and look further. But what do you think about California's laws? So in a quick conclusion of today's story, I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Not to say that I'm 100% against it, because I'm for efficiency. But any of you guys who've ever put a low flow shower in after you've had a regular one, it's miserable to try to take a shower when the water is just barely piddling on you. You know, just certain aerators and things can help, you know, when you're kind of restricting the flow and you're making it kind of half water, half oxygen, and it's still coming out forcefully, you know, I can understand. But when you restrict the pressure and it comes out very soft, that affects the water's efficiency at cleaning dishes, at cleaning your hands, when it's just barely piddling out. If you can have it come out quickly, even if it's a less amount, because that's what an aerator does. It aerates the water, so the water's got a lot of bubbles in it, so it's less water. It's like half water, half air, so to speak, right? Instead of just a pure stream of water. So I think that some households may be able to pull it off depending on size. A one person living by themselves, 2, 3 people, a husband and wife with one child, probably can, if they're really focused on water conservation, may be able to make this happen. However, the average family, I don't think can. And then when you factor out the use that they're saying, of course they can't monitor each and every individual home, so the water has got to be balanced out between the water company's customers, all of them. So that means us, the little guy, are competing with factories, production plants, and everything else for that water consumption. And do you think that that plant is limited to the same water consumption as you? So fast forward 10-20 years, I can see most Americans with dead lawns or lawns with rock and like desert landscaping, while the golf courses and the businesses and the elites have their green mansions and their nice green lawns. I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave a comment below. Let me know how you feel. And we'll be back with another video here shortly to talk about some of California's other laws. And we're going to tie this all together with a big bow about how California is literally sinking on flames and just in a state of chaos. And if you're not online, if you're not looking at social media and the news, it may not quite seem as bad, but when you step back and you can see all the things that are happening, it's just a very depressing picture of California painted right now, with a homeless crisis, with people going into stores and shoplifting and grabbing entire huge bags of merchandise and just waltzing right out because California won't prosecute low-level offenses. So when I need to go to the store and buy toothpaste, shampoo, or whatever have you, my price is affected because of these thieves, because the store has only X amount of product, and when they lose a certain percentage of it to theft, they've got to increase their prices to make up, to try to make a profit. So you either drive companies out of business, and you can look at the Walgreens closing and all the other stores like CVS and Walgreens closing in the Bay Area due to shoplifting. And you look at the forests that are on fire, and you kind of tie that in with the drought. Well, how much of that also has to do with the fact that they will not allow us to log, they will not allow us to go in and clear out the underbrush, they will not allow us to do controlled burns, and the fact that the state got hit with a beetle that kills trees. And when we could go and find the trees that were killed by the beetle and take them down so that that's less fuel for fires, and we can also save trees by injecting them and doing some things to prevent from the beetles from killing them in the first place, because green things don't burn as easy as dead things. So when you have a forest and half or a third of the forest is actually dead trees from a beetle, it makes sense to go in there and clear out those dead trees. Also, we used to log, and we can go in and cut an area, take most of the trees from there, then turn around and plant new ones spaced correctly, fresh, healthy trees, and then we can move on to another section. And as we do that in patches, the patch that they clear cut or cut 10 years ago is now pristine, perfect forest, and they're hopscotching around. The logging industry, it would help lumber costs, it would help the forest. And then again, and you look at areas like Monterey, Santa Cruz, San Jose, Bay Area, they will not let you go in and touch their forests because there could be beetles and owls and rodents using that as a home, and you're destroying their environment. So they won't allow you to go in there and remove brush, remove dead things. It's just mind-boggling. So how much of our fire is related to our fire practices, right? Now, of course, there's a drought. Of course, there's bad things going on. But it begs to step back and look at California. The poop problem in all the big cities. Homelessness. Crime is out of control. Illegal immigration. Now, if you're Mexican or wherever, again, this isn't about you. This is about illegal immigration, whether they're white and from Europe, whether they're black and from Africa or Haiti, whether they're Mexican or Hispanic from Southern America, from Mexico, Brazil, from Guatemala. I don't care if they're from Asia, wherever they're from. When you take illegal immigrants and you influx them into a community and into an area, those illegal immigrants are just going to want to live like everybody else. They're going to go get jobs, they're going to go do things, and they're going to try to survive. However, now you have a big old labor force who are used to living in a third world conditions. Now they will take work, jobs, and things for a much lower wage. So a painter 30, 40 years ago could feed his family. Now when you've got 1,000 immigrants willing to paint standing on the side of Home Depot or Lowe's, it really affects the painter's economy and whether an average American citizen can start up a painter's business and be successful, because he's got to compete with illegal immigrants. There's one American who's a contractor, right? Then he hires a bunch of illegal immigrants under the table for cheap labor rates, and then other contractors who hire Americans cannot bid as low as that guy and compete. It's just, it drives down our wages and it's bad. But look at all the problems that California itself faces. Our economy is like, what, the 5th largest in the world. However, it's California as a state is filled with just extremely rich people and upper middle class, and a ton of dirt poor people. The middle class is just devastated here. Taxes, the gas prices are through the roof, $4 to $5 a gallon. Our roads are crap, potholes everywhere. They've got a high-speed rail that goes nowhere, that ain't even connected. Doesn't help the commute. It doesn't help our choked up highways. It's just nuts here in California. The California governor has also mandated vaccines to go to public school for children. So that means K through 12. So that means kids as young as 4 and 5 years old are going to be required to be vaccinated just to attend school. And there's a lot of anecdotal and also reported on the VAERS system, a lot of reports of children getting blood clots, of heart attacks, of heart issues, of blood issues. I don't understand why we're forcing healthy young children to be vaccinated when it doesn't really affect them as much. They're literally like very, very unlikely to have issues with the virus. And you look at, of course, they could infect old people. Yeah, but what are we doing to our youth, injecting them with this stuff when it has possibilities of blood clots and all these other, adverse effects? And if I remember correctly, the adverse effect rate right now, I think, is about 0.6%. So like 1 out of 180 people who get the jab will probably experience an adverse effect. And the survival rate of the actual virus is around the same percent, like 99 point something percent. So you're about as likely to get sick or an adverse effect from the jab as you are to die from the virus. And those numbers greatly change when you're very young. So why are we making our kids get vaccinated to something that's definitely bad, but it's no measles, mumps, rubella, it's no smallpox, it's not the plague, it's not Black Death. This thing's basically 2 to 3 times stronger or so than the flu. And we never forced our children to get a flu vaccine. So there's some craziness going on in California. And today's story, again, I just wanted to focus on the water laws. But we'll be back in a bit with a story about the vaccination for children. Smash that, subscribe, and like, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.